Do I still own my Abarth? Well, of course I do, and today you're going to find out why I love it that much. Your first car is like your first love. You will never forget it. With the only difference, you actually want to forget your first love. Already 6 years and a half have passed since when I bought the Abarth, my very first car. This car still has a very special place in my heart, and I'm not planning to sell it, even though in the past year I've driven mostly the Great Smart. But after so much time, I always find this car rather fun to drive. It keeps bringing me the same smile I had the first day I bought it. I'm not a great fan of the Abarth in white, so I wanted to buy something different, and I wanted to go for the red one. And after some time I found one in good conditions with about 23,000 kilometers and just one owner from me. Now the car has nearly 132,000 kilometers. That's a lot of driving in these years. And you know, the first car also provides you more freedom. Sometimes when I drive this car, it really brings me up good memories and things I've done with this car. Now you may wonder, but hey, it's blue, it's not red. Well, yeah, after about 4 years of ownership, I decided to make it look different. And so I fell in love with this color and I decided to wreck it. After all these years, I think this color is really awesome, especially with wheels painted white. Even though the Abarth doesn't have supercar performance, trust me, driving this car is rather exciting, even though it doesn't reach 300 kilometers per hour. You have a different perception of speed. For example, cruising at high speed with the GTR feels like this. But with the Abarth, you guys keep asking me whether my Abarth is 100% stock or not, and well, let's just say that my Abarth is able to break the speed limits before the other Abarths. And it's quite funny because people think that a supercar is accelerating from miles away, and then, surprise, nothing but a 500 appears with a riser behind the wheel. So yeah, the exhaust is not definitely stock. Whenever I get pulled over, I just say the exhaust is factory. Well, I don't specify from which factory, but yeah, technically it's factory. The car is actually louder than faster, but I don't care because speed is not everything. And whenever I hear this tiny engine ramming up and making all this noise, oh boy, this smile. The same as 6 years and a half ago. And with this current setup, the exhaust pops and bangs more than the last time you ate Mexican food. So what did I do to this car? Well, basically basically I will spend less time to tell you what's left stock in here. The tiny 1.4 liter turbocharged engine right in front of me has been tweaked quite a lot over the time, and now it produces around 250 horsepower and 320 newton meters of torque. That's a lot of horsepower for a car that Jeremy Clarkson once defined the size of a shoe. You're right, Jeremy. You know, it's like attaching a rocket to a shopping cart. You know, it may backfire at some point, but you want to do that anyway because it's hilarious. And I'm not repenting at all the modifications I've done to this car. And of course, if you want to put more power in the engine, the first thing you should really do is to put more power in the brakes. I really think that this stock braking system of the Abarth is quite underpowered if you want to drive the car in this way. You know, it's like trying to stop a robbery with a pencil sharpener. You know, it's just not gonna work. So here's why I have gone through a much bigger braking system that does a really good job right now. The braking power is much stronger and longer. So if you're really planning to buy a 500 Abarth and drive it in this way, I seriously recommend you not to keep the braking system stock. Another modification that I've done regards the springs, because now the car is much stiffer and lower. I have a better feeling of the road I'm driving through, even though the springs really break my ass. You know what I mean? And you know, at the end we're talking about a car that has the same chassis of a Fiat Panda. It's a chassis that, let's face it, it has big limits. The driving position for a car that is claimed to be a hot hatch, well, that's pretty high. But somehow I find this car more fun and with a bigger personality than other hot hatch cars that I have driven. And this is also one of the reasons why I don't want to sell this car, because as I said previously, it's not all about the performance, but it's also about the emotions that the car is able to convey. And after so much time, the Abarth is still able to make me happy and make me smile. Sometimes I find this car even more fun than the Great Smart. Driving around this tight and winding roads with a small car like this with so much horsepower, well, this is really fun, trust me. It's rather light compared to the Great Smart, and around these bends you don't feel the weight as much as in the GTR. The Abarth is offered also with the MTA flappy pedals gearbox, but honestly that's one of the worst flappy pedals gearbox I have ever experienced in my life. The Abarth has to go with a manual, and even though it's not the most sharp manual gearbox you may experience, nowadays this stick and the third pedal have become rare stuff, and they're able to provide good fun and smiles anyway. It's getting pretty hard to unleash all the torque and power, because first, yeah, that's a lot of power, especially if you don't have a proper limited slip differential, and second, I think it's almost time to change my tires. I think that after all these years, my Abarth has aged not only in terms of look, because the car still looks new, but also in terms of quality, because I think there's quality inside this car. A lot of people just want to talk badly about Fiat, but after 6 years and a half, I can really say this engine is pretty strong and solid. And the interior, I think the only work that needs to be done is to fix the leather on the steering wheel. Besides that, all the things still look new after so much time. So I think that when it's given, we should really talk good about our things. Whenever I make a corner, I pray not to jump off my seat, because let's face it, these seats are terrible for sports driving. They don't hold you on the side at all. I wanted to go for the option Abarth seats that are very good for sports driving, but they are terrible for driving, because I think you're not sitting on a seat but on a bunch of rocks. Yeah, I think so. Can you believe that with a stock suspension spring, but with that kind of seats, the Abarth is stiffer than this current setup? I can't even imagine my spring plus the saddle seats. That will be terrible. It's a good thing that at least in a straight line the seats of the Abarth hold your back, because the boost is massive. This turbo is much bigger than the stock one, and it needs also more revs to kick in, but when it does, oh my goodness, the boost is immense, really. And it's impressive also because it's able to provide power and boosts until around the 7,000 RPMs. So just like any other car, also my Abarth has good but also negative sides. And even if it had 1,000 of defects, this is still my first car, my first love. How many of you guys repent not to have kept your first car? Sometimes I really think that cars are more than just a piece of metal.